Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we got to talk about the recent politician to pass away, which I'm only hearing about now because, of course, I always get the news 11 days late because Wikipedia is slow and lazy. But we got to talk about Louis Lambert, who passed away on the 27th of September, pretty long time ago. He died at the age of 84. And he has a pretty simple electoral history. He first off served as a part of the Louisiana Public Service Commission. I don't know if that's a statewide elected office. Okay, yeah, it's divided into districts, so I would assume you're elected district wide into different districts. But Louis Lambert served a part of the commission, and he was also a state senator in Louisiana. So he has had that backgrounds there also. But ultimately, his main part of politics would be in the 1979 gubernatorial race, where he would attempt to challenge the said Republican Dave Treen. Dave Treen to the said governorship. And, man, he does quite a little bit interesting here. So you'll see the open primary is very complicated. You'll see that the areas in blue are actually carried by Louis Lambert himself, as you can clearly see here in the Baton Rouge area. He's probably from this area, so he's carrying these areas here. You'll see he's facing off against fellow Democrats here. Let's see. You got Jimmy Fitzmaurice, Paul Hardy, E.L. Bubba Henry, Egar G. or Sonny Moten Jr., all of the four are eliminated, which resulted to Louis Lambert running. You can clearly see how did he manage to pull this off from his Democratic opponents, you might be wondering. Well, let's look at the pretty obvious here. These are the areas you probably want to win in. The Baton Rouge area, you do have a lot of African American voters up here. And judging by the race, I would assume, judging by the map, I would assume Louis Lambert's probably the only African-American in this said, the only said African-American in this race so far. As you have, let's see, Jimmy Fitzmaurice, which I would assume in green. Yeah, he's carrying New Orleans, which is pretty good to have, actually. That did land him a pretty close challenge. He almost won. It's just, yeah, let's see here, Louis Lambert, he just did very well in these everywhere else, like these parishes right down here. But ultimately, Lambert trounced his margin in very highly African-American areas along the border of Mississippi. You'll also see that in the purple, you'll see Paul Hardy, I want to believe, is in purple. He does very well along the Mississippi River, up and down. Okay. Then you also have Hardy. Yeah, we just did that. Never mind. Henry does good over here. You don't see much red, actually. Which Treen does good over here in these Republican strongholds. And holding these areas was enough for him to win, actually. Win the majority of 21%. You could have seen a Democrat versus Democrat general election, which would have been a very good scenario. 21% of the popular vote in the, of course, the general election, however, that is quite the case. Let's go over to the runoff. You'll see over here you have David Treen versus Louis Lambert. And you'll see, Louis Lambert does very good in the areas where, of course, he carried. I'm guessing he comes from this area right here. He tends to do very well in this parish. But you'll see these counties are in the 70-80% margin gap. Baton Rouge, pretty Republican back in the 70s, actually backed Treen here. And it was a very close race. Louis Lambert could have very well won, but ultimately Dave Treen pulled it off. He got 50.35% of the popular vote. He's just losing by less than a point. And judging by the results, I mean, hey, if New Orleans was voted as much as it was today, okay? As much as it is today, then for sure, Treen would have won. Not Treen, but Lambert would have won this election pretty handily and easily. And I just think, that a lot of people don't understand, a lot of the Gulf Coast here, the coasts of Louisiana, they are very populated. And it's where Republicans generally enjoy their best votes and where they come from. So, obviously, having the South in your hands as a Republican, very good. Baton Rouge, I probably would assume Lombard would have lost. Would have won, pardon me. He would have won if Baton Rouge went to him, as it did, but you'll see from the first round, he barely could have carried it. Barely. And judging at the latest results, you'll see this parish went 60%. So just because it's in the 30% margin for Lombard doesn't mean, it's in danger of flipping to the Republican. Baton Rouge has been long Republican during this time, and it's just become quite apparent that he was going to end up carrying that and picking that up. But that's generally how the race generally went. I know this video was a short one, but there's nothing really else to talk about other than, Lombard, despite running a very close and competitive campaign, didn't run for re-election or didn't run for any election afterward. He retired and continued basically living on his own in Sorrento, I want to believe. That's his home. Yep, I was right, folks. He comes from this area. This county called Ascension Parish. Ascension Parish. Yes, you'll see Ascension Parish has voted 70% for, and of course, the following areas surrounding Mr. Lombard, and of course, 80% in the general election. So this is very good in his hometown of Ascension Parish, which he did very well in. But what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.